attendees are in listen-only mode.
Here. This morning, please remember that we can't handle individual tech support problems. If you've got a tech support issue, then please deal with it through help.remote-backup.com. We'll be very happy to deal with anything general here, and so this is kind of a session where you get to design it. If you want to ask a question or make a comment, do so with your webinar console in the questions section. There have already been a couple of people post some things that they'd like to see today. That's great. Would like to see more of that. Most of you filled out the survey that was listed in the blog, and that's according to that. Most of what you want to see is customizing and creating client installers, and that you want a discussion about best practices for technical issues. I think what I'll do at this point is let's get it narrowed down just a little bit more. I've got a poll here queued up to do, and what I'd like to do is get your answers to this poll question so that we can further customize it for you. And you should see that on your screen right now. I'll give you a minute or so to answer all of that. Okay, we've got some responses coming in now. Let's see. We'll give you another few seconds here. People are still answering. Okay, it looks like just about everybody else is finished. I'll go ahead and close this poll, and then I'll share it with you so you can see it yourselves on your own screen. Looks like most people want to see the customize and brand the client installer using the web manager. I'm sorry, the RBS manager console utility, and the next you want to see the web plugins. So I think what we'll do is start that way. And then if we have some time, we'll get on to the rest of these things. While I'm doing that, let me let's see. Let me look at this. Yes, the webinar. Unless we have some real serious technical glitches, we're going to post this webinar online later for you to view later if you want to. Got a couple of questions about that. Okay, let's get started. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. This is the RBS Manager utility, the console application. As you might know, RBackup comes with two applications that you can use to manage the server and customize the clients. The one that's delivered as a standard feature with the software under most of the plans is this console application, the RBS Manager. We also have another one called the Web Manager. It's got most of the same things as this one does, except you can manage it by the web. And I'll drag that on so you can have a look at that. This is this is the Web Manager plugin. It has a few more features. It's got lots of reports and lots of setup options that you can use. Again, just a different way to view the server, to manage it. Okay, so to use RBackup, the way you do this is you install this application that you're looking at on screen here in your data center on one of your servers. This is the server. This, well, actually, this little bitty box up here in the upper left is the server. This one in the middle is called the RBS Manager, and it has all the controls for the server. It also contains the utility that's used to customize and brand the client installer. So the way you would do this is with all of our plans, our technicians and engineers will install the client software. I'm sorry, the server software for you, and we'll perform an initial just the basic client customization. We spend a little time with you to show you around the system so that you can do it yourself. The next step you do is you customize the client installer. This is where you brand it. You put your company name on it. You put a lot of the defaults for backup sets and the text. You can put your own icons and graphics on this screen. Excuse me. You can specify the client locks. You can change the text. You can change the display. You can set default backup sets. Once you get all this exactly the way you want it, and there are maybe 200 or 300 items that you can change and customize and brand here. Once you get that set the way you want it, you pick this button that says Build the Client Installer, and this builds 3 client installers for you. One is a personal edition, one is a workstation edition, and one is a server edition. These are all built as individual EXE files that you can distribute to your customers, and they contain all of this branding and customization that you've put in it. Let's start out with this. So the RBS server is already installed on this computer, and let's customize and brand the client now. I'll go through the things on the screen. I'm going to skip a few of the things on this screen because if I go, I know from experience that if I go through every item on this screen, it takes me a solid hour to do. So I'm not going to do all that. I want to leave some time for questions. The first thing on this screen is the server's IP address or DNS name or host name or domain name or however you want the client to be able to reach your server through the internet. You can simply click this button here, which tells it to use the server locator. The server locator is basically a dynamic DNS service that we run here at RBS, and we assign each server a host name. In this case, this is the host name assigned to my particular server. When this is turned on, the server software updates our DNS service whenever its IP address changes, and you can use that to locate your server. This is great for a few reasons. One of them is if you're on a dynamic IP address, this still allows you to run an RBS service. The server locator will notice a change in your IP address within just a few seconds, and it'll switch all of your users to the new IP. That's seamless. Another reason to use this is because in case you need to move your server very quickly, in case of our people in Florida, some of them just want to pick the server up and go to a different state with it and plug it in somewhere during a hurricane. When they do that, as soon as they plug it in, our server locator finds it and redirects all their customers. So you could plug this even into a hotel internet, and it would find your server just fine. This service is active as long as your maintenance agreement is in force, which is kind of the downside of it. If you don't intend to renew your maintenance subscription, don't suggest that you use that. Now, since I'm going to build a client installer for this local one because I want it to contact my local machine, I'm going to enter the IP address of my local machine. Again, if you have any questions about anything I'm showing you here, or you want me to move on and hurry up in anything, just type it in the questions up there and I'll be able to read that. This is the admin override password. This is used, the admin override password is used to get into the backside, the back end through the back door of the client software after it's already been set up on your end users. The default is admin, and you should change that. On this screen, you set up your default backup sets. First, you can select backup sets here. You can add and delete backup sets. This is where you do that. This is the first window is for the backup type and scheduler. Incremental backups, differential, full, and bit backups can be performed. We usually recommend that for general use, you set it to incremental backups. When you deploy the client software, an incremental backup will be the default, and it will do a full backup with the very first backup, and then it'll automatically switch to incrementals. That way it makes sure you have a full copy of everything. The schedules can be set, most people set a daily schedule to happen sometime in the middle of the night. You can also schedule an attempt window. This particular window is 6 hours long. So in this case, this schedule will launch, this backup will launch, the default backup set will launch at 15 minutes after midnight, and it'll try for 6 hours. For a weekly backup, you can also schedule every Monday and Thursday, et cetera, things like that. For this particular demo, I'm going to select an on-demand backup, which has no schedule at all and operates as a just the client will have to initiate all the backups. Let's see, Steve wants to know if I'm currently working on the client machine or the server machine. Steve, I'm working on both of them. I have the server installed on this computer. So it's actually the server machine, but I will install a client on it later in the demonstration, so it'll be both a client and a server. When we do a backup, it'll go through the IP stack on this machine from the client application into the server application. That way you'll be able to see both sides of the transaction. Anthony also asks questions about whether we should run this on a virtual machine or physical hardware. And that's a good question. If you run it on, I think a better question is, where will you run it? If your virtual machine is somewhere in the cloud and you don't have access to it, that will prevent you from being able to easily do a seed backup and a bulk restore. With a seed backup, you can take a USB drive out to the client and copy all the data of the first backup onto the USB drive and bring that back to the server, plug it into the server, and copy the data on. That way you get to do a very large backup very quickly the first time. The first full backup can be done that way. Obviously, if it's a virtual machine up in Amazon EC2 service or in a data center remotely outside driving distance to you, you won't be able to do that. I do at this time recommend running this inside a virtualized environment if you have if that environment is physically if you can get to it physically. I recommend that for ease of backup and ease of restore in case of an emergency. Okay, let's move on. Incremental backup type backs up files that have changed since the last backup, full files, and it toggles the archive bit. Differential backup backs up only files that have changed, and it does not toggle the archive bit. This kind of backup is this is there to support legacy systems like tape drives that require the archive bit. This differential backup is the same as incremental, except it doesn't toggle the archive bit, so that makes our backup software play nicely with legacy tape units. A full backup will always back up full files, and a bit backup backs up pieces of files. For example, if you have edited one paragraph in a multi-page Word document, bit backup will back up only the one paragraph. We recommend you use this in systems where you know there are a lot of small changes to big files. Do not use this for general use. But the reason is it does require a lot of processing time on the client software, and periodically it does a roll forward operation, which does a new full backup to the server. That takes some time. It also requires some cache space on the client software. An example of when to use this and when not to be using it is let's see, dental x-rays. If you're backing up dental x-rays, don't use bit backup. Use incremental mode, because those x-rays never change. If you're backing up let's see, an architect who uses a lot of CAD drawings and makes small changes to very large files, use Bit Backup for that. I'm going to set this back up to full for now for demonstration purposes. Now, for just a minute, let me have a look at your some questions. There have been a lot of questions come in. Tom wants to know if one form of backup type is more reliable than the other. No, they're all equally reliable. The same edit checks go into all of these, the same error checks, the same everything. Gerard wants to know the difference between archive bit and date modified. That comes up in a different screen, and what I'll do is I'll show you that one in a different screen and answer that question then. Amin wants to know if how often we should be doing a full backup. Actually, only once. If you select incremental, the first backup will be full, and then all the subsequent backups will be incremental. And our backup is unique in that it has the ability to do a synthetic full restore. That is, it can search all backups of all previous backup sets for files, and it can synthesize a full restore on the fly. So there's really no way that you can, there's no reason to do a full backup again. Let's see. There's always a lot of questions here. Just give me a minute to read them over. Questions about Windows 7. We have no issues with Windows 7. It works just as well as any of the other operating systems. Let's see. Is Bit Backup recommended for PST files? PST files are a special problem, and yes, we do recommend Bit Backup for PST files. Okay, I see that Pinku is. Pinku, are you there? Can you pop in?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good, good.
Hi, hello everybody.
Hey, I just noticed that you're answering some questions here that I don't need to answer. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I'm answering it, privately. And what I'll do is I'll just compile all the questions and answers, and I'll email it to you, so you can even circulate it after the webinar.
Perfect. That's perfect. Okay, good. That's great. Thanks for doing that. Do you have any suggestions? How are we doing so far?
Oh yeah, good. Most of them are, they wanted to know about customizing the backup.mdb. There is a way we can customize the backup.mdb.
Yeah, I saw that question.
I'll circulate an article about that which explains it.
Yeah, good. Okay, good. All right, well then let's just move on.
Okay.
I don't have anybody telling me to giddy up and move on yet, so let's just continue with this. All right, the software has the ability to select files two ways. One of them is the user can just select individual files and folders and do that specifically. So you would bring up a screen, and that screen lists the files and folders in the system, and you put a green check or a red X mark over the ones that you want to back up or the ones that you don't want to back up. Or you just don't put anything over the ones that you don't care about, you want to ignore. The other way to select files, and this is done for a lot of people who have general distribution and also want to limit the number of touch points that somebody might have with the software, an end user, for example, make it less complicated, is to turn on auto select. Auto select is a kind of a smart way of file selection that allows the software to scan the entire file system and select files to be backed up based on their file types. And this can be a group of files based on the file extensions, as you can see here. There's an awful lot of built-in file extensions. You can select this one, for example, and put a green check mark on it, and it moves it into the include list. In this case, this will back up VersaCAD, Palm address files, source code files, DOS batch files, Lotus Notes, all that kind of stuff. It will exclude all of this stuff from the backup. I'll talk about file exclusions and how important they are in just a minute. You can also add your own extensions here. Now, this is one way that some service providers address vertical markets with their software. Let me use, for example, accountants. So suppose you want to develop a vertical market application that addresses specifically accountants with a very simple system that doesn't require them to know where their files are or to or to select files. In this case, you would name a file, QuickBooks. You would add the extension, all the extensions for it, .qbk I think is what they're called, and pick include. Then you would do Peachtree and whatever their extensions are. I have no idea what their extensions are. You would include all the common accounting programs that accountants would use, and that's that, and then turn on auto select. In that case, you might also want to include all the Microsoft Office files. In that case, the installation is very simple. All the accountant has to do is just install the software, and when it runs, it automatically selects the files that are there. If it's got QuickBooks on it, it'll back up QuickBooks. If it's got Peachtree, it'll back up Peachtree. The next screen here under backup sets, defining the backup sets, is the purge and retention settings. This is important, and you need to know this, because if you don't do this right, you will run out of space on your hard drive and your on your server, and your customers will bust their quotas all over the place. You'll be spending a lot more drive space than you wanted to. I fully recommend that you keep this first option on, just as a fail-safe. This option retains the most recent version of all the files online. It makes sure that there's at least one backup copy of each file, no matter if you screw up the rest of this. It overrides all the rest of these. Works in conjunction with them, but overrides them. In some cases, you'll want to keep your customers' files for a period of days. In that case, you set this purge files older than, for example, 90. In this case, the system will actually delete files from the server once they reach 91 days old. If there happens to be only one file that's not in that whole 90-day period, and this keep latest version is checkmarked, that file will not be erased. If this is not checkmarked, then that file will be erased and the user won't have it. So that's why I say it's important to keep that on there. Some people want to keep files for 30 days, just roll it down to 30 days. Some people want to keep it for a year or 2 years or 99 years. You can keep it for a very long time. The other option, which is a little more popular these days, is to keep versions. Now, instead of keeping files older than purging files older than a certain number of days, you can tell the software to keep a number of files set, a number of versions online. So in this case, I've set it to keep 3 versions. No matter how old they are, the software will always keep the most current 3 versions. In advanced settings, this is where we answer somebody's question. Tom, I think, asked a question about the archive bit or the modified date and time or fast pick. There are three ways that our software can use to select files for backup. One of them is that it can use the archive bit. The archive bit is a special bit that gets pulled along with, it's a part of the file name, essentially. Windows keeps track of it. Whenever you modify a file, Windows turns a little bit on, and our software can read that bit to determine if a file has been edited since the last backup. And when we back it up, we turn that bit off. So it makes it's very easy and very quick to do. So the scanning process is very quick if you use this. The modified date time, however, is becoming more popular because it ignores the archive bit entirely. It is slower. The scanning is slower because it has to compare the modified date and time of each and every file with a database that it keeps locally. So that database can get kind of big too. Still, it's quick, but it's not as quick as archive bit. Fast pick. Let's see. Fast pick is recommended to use only if you have a large number of files for backup, greater than 50,000. That's fine. Use the fast pick method if you have a huge number of files. Fast pick compares the date of the last backup for this backup set with the last date and time of each file. Doesn't require database lookup, so it's very fast. In this case, I'm going to keep it set to archive bit. You can specify a session quota. If you have users whose first full backup will be done online instead of through a USB drive, you might want to set a session quota. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to set a session quota of 1 gigabyte. What this means is that only 1 gigabyte per session will be allowed to be sent from that client. And that allows you to spread the first full backup out over several sessions. Our backup will send 1 gigabyte of data, and then it'll stop, and it'll retain all the rest of it until the next night, and it'll continue to try to catch up night after night until it's caught up. Let's see, Pinku, there seem to be a lot of unanswered questions on here. If you don't want to, if you can't, let's see, you want me to answer them? Let me have a look and see what we've got. Let's see, Amin wants to know if you turn on auto select that scans all the folders on the drive, but if you select only specific folders, does auto select scan outside these specific folders? That's a good question, and something I forgot to cover. Yeah, one feature of there are several ways that you can modify the behavior of auto select. The default behavior is auto select starts at the root of all the selected drives and scans down. Another way you can do it is sort of a hybrid approach. You can have auto select work in conjunction with manual folder selection. So you can actually select folders and then tell auto select to scan only among those folders. That's very, very quick, and I'll tell you, for some personal users, personal plans, they use that. So they select only the documents and settings folder, and then they turn on auto select and set it so that it scans only the documents and settings folder. That makes the scanning process very quick. Okay. Let's see, Wallace has got an interesting question. It says, doesn't that use a great amount of storage space, keeping all those incrementals? A file such as QuickBooks that gets used daily would get backed up daily, and yes, it will get backed up daily. So that's why in the case of something like that where it's a huge file, you'll probably want to set number of backups to keep like to 3 instead of using purge files older than, say, 90. Yeah, so in this case, if you've got a half a gigabyte big QuickBooks file that gets changed every day, and you use this selection, you're going to have 90 of those at the end of 90 days. That's too many. Instead, select this and set it to 3. Okay, I'm going to set this back to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Finally, on the screen, there are some options that you can use. You can tell the system to back up and then log off, or you can tell it to back up and then shut down the computer entirely. I promised to talk about backup exclusions. Backup exclusions are great. This is a way that you can keep your users out of trouble, keep them from selecting a bunch of stuff that they really don't need to back up. If you're going to give them the option to do their own file selections, this is super. Here's an example. In this example, we've got this. I don't know if you can see this. It says tilde and then a star character. Which is shorthand for any file or folder that starts with a tilde. Those files are temporary files, and they don't need to be backed up. So we've loaded them in here. You can here's a wildcard folder exclusions. In this case, we've excluded the recycle bin, temporary internet files, the Windows system files, the some binary files, music application files, anything that you don't want the users to be able to select, load up in here, and it won't even show up on the file selection interface. They won't even be able to select it at all. They won't even see it. And the final option here is virtual exclusions. These are for folders. So typically, it's not a good idea to back up the Windows folder, the temporary folder, the system cache, system folder, cookies. You might want to back up cookies. Don't back up the history folder. Don't back up the application data folder. Those are exclusions. Okay, that's it. Let me check my questions to see if there's any here. Let's see. All right, Jurgen wants to know if when going from keep number of days option to number of backup sets to keep, will it automatically purge existing backup sets using this new setting? Jurgen, I don't know, but I'll tell you who does know. Pinku knows the answer to that one. So I think, Pinku, can you answer that for everybody? Click on in here and let us know.
Oh yeah, keep latest version of all files, right?
Yeah, so if we've got it for, let me go back to that page. Suppose we've got it set, well, where is it? Okay, purge and retention setting. All right, suppose we have it set to this, to 90, and we've done a few backups like that, and then now we don't want to do that anymore. We want to set this to 3 and continue to do backups. What's going to happen? Is it going to purge all but the 3 most? Yeah. What will happen then?
Exactly. That's the way it works. It just keeps only the 3 version, you know, and it's going to purge all the older files.
Okay.
And if you have keep latest version of all files online, it's going to retain a file which is the only version available. You know, let's say file A, which has been backed up on day 1, and that's the only time it's been backed up. Irrespective of the, you know, purge and retention settings, it's going to keep that file.
Okay. So so once changed from purge files older than here to number of backup sets to keep online, will it do a cleanup with the very next backup?
Yeah, the purge routine happens after the backup. You know, on the next backup, when a client completes the backup, it checks this particular settings, and you know, if there is no exceptions in the backup, it will clear all the old files. You know, it will just retain only the 3 versions of files. As
it should do. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Sean's got a good question that other people are going to want to know too. He wants to know if he can manually, after he's got somebody backing up for a while, can he manually go in and access these settings on an existing customer that's been backing up? And yeah, you can. 2 ways you can do that. One way is you can log in remotely to the user's console using RDP or some remote access software like that we provide for our priority customers. Or you can, let me switch to the background here and switch to accounts. You can remotely do this too, and I'll show you how to do it. This that we're on right now is the server, the RBS manager. This is the server side. You select a user and you select remotely manage the user, and here are some things that you can change. You can change all of this stuff by remote, including the purge and retention settings. So in order to use this, you make these changes on the server. The next time that client does a backup, he will pick up these new settings, and the client will automatically apply them. That's cool stuff right there. All right, let's go back to where was I? Backup exclusions. We've switched to change text. Okay. There are a lot of things here that that you can change the text. This is the company name. You can change the company name here. This shows up in all the screen captions. You can change the text at the top of the print key form. You can even add a menu caption and a menu link to the help menu. The help menu on the client software, you can add your own option there. Most people say an option for that would be to go to help website, example, http help.remotebackup.com. Okay, now this is going to, when we build the installer, this is going to show up as a new menu option under help. You can also add one more top level menu. So this menu option might be get support or I don't know, review account, help, and then you put the whatever here, account settings, and then you put the link to the account settings, etc. This will show up as a new top-level menu on the client software. Okay, let's see. We're going to have to hurry up because we're running out of time here. You can include, if you want to include your own user license here, you can click yes. Your own user license shows up here. You can create it with Notepad. Your own user license, I'm not going to create it, shows up in the installer just behind the standard software license agreement. So when the software gets installed, it pops up and says, here's our license agreement. Do you agree to it? Do you agree to it? The customer has to answer yes to continue the installation. Just after that screen, yours would pop up, and you can put in there your your service level agreement, your service agreement, just about anything you want, and the customer will have to answer yes to that. Client locks. This is where you get to lock down a lot of the features of the client software. You can lock the scheduler window if you don't want your users to be able to access the schedule to change the schedule. You can lock the ability to add and change file selections if you don't want your users to be able to change your file selections. You can lock their ability to enter a new backup set. You can lock the entire backup set menu. Many things you can lock. One of the reasons you'd want to do this is to keep users from screwing around with the client software and messing up your settings. Also, to keep users from selecting, for example, the entire C drive. If you set up, you don't want to do that. What that'll do is that'll send far too much data to your server. The users will call up when they get a big bill at the end of the month. They'll call up and ask why, and this is going to require tech support time for you to fix the problem or explain why. It's because you selected all of drive C. Many options that you can lock here. And this is where you change the display. The display, you can change the splash screen. Let me preview let me preview this for you. This is the default splash screen. You can change this. It's just a BMP file. All you have to do is just create your own with the correct size and format, and replace it here with your own. This is the About screen. It's the screen that shows up when you click Help and About. You can change that too. There are 4 icons. One of them, they show up all over the place. You can see one up in the upper left corner of all the captions. This is one I'm pointing to. Here, they also show up down here in the system, in the tray. While the software is running, they always also show up over here in the system section. Also shows up in Help and About. Shows up in Add Remove Programs, all over the place. And here you can change the icons inside any of our exe files so that they show up in the Windows, all the Windows settings. Let's see, Kurt wants to know where you can find the correct sizes and formats for these BMPs. That's in a knowledge base article, Kurt. You can just look it up. Go to help.remote-backup.com and type in graphic format. I think we'll get it for you. Let's see, any other questions I can answer right now? Nope. Let's save some of these for later. Here are some backup settings. The system supports 7 different kinds of encryption. Depending on the industry that you're going into, you might want different encryption. It supports DES, two forms of DES. That's old standard. Nobody uses that anymore. Triple DES, nobody uses it. Blowfish is really, really secure 448-bit amazing encryption. It's very fast. Problem with it, though, is although it's very secure, it's not industry standard. The current industry standards are AES. So we have 3 versions of AES. That's 128, 192, and 256-bit encryption. For compliance with regulations like HIPAA and Sarbanes-Oxley and GLB, you'll want to pick one of the AES encryption techniques. Let's set this one to 256. A lot of these other things I'm not going to get into right now because we're running out of time. If you need, you can have a look at these in the documentation. We have on this screen, I'll show you a couple of things. The client software has 2 interfaces, which I'll show you in a little bit. One of them is a simple mode interface, and one of them is the advanced mode interface. Most people start out with the simple mode interface. It's a little bit slower, but it's a whole lot more friendly. It's a lot smaller. It's more graphical. It looks more modern than the advanced mode interface. If you're a techie, you're you're going to appreciate the advanced mode interface a lot more because it's much quicker and all the goodies are right on the screen. I'll show you that one. I'll show you that one. In fact, I'll show you that one first, I think. There are some more advanced options. That's it. That's it. So now that we've done all of this, let's click Build Client Installer. You can click the Build Client Installer. It'll build a self-extracting exe installer, or it'll build a disk-based installer. You give it the executable file name. I'm going to call it Data Safe. You search for a destination folder. Let me just, well, let me put it someplace. Okay, let's see, where am I going to put it? On a local hard drive, downloads, and I'll just put it right there. Okay, and the icon file, I'm going to use the default. Otherwise, I could browse for it. Okay, make exe. Okay, what it's doing now is it's building all the exe files in the background, and there are 3 of them. It has just created them successfully, and that's that. Now we can distribute them to the end users. Another thing you might want to do is build the restore agents. Now the software, most of our standard software comes with restore agents. They are small standalone programs that can be used to do restores without having to install the client software at all. One of them is for restoring from disk, and one of them is for restoring from a website. You can click here to build the restore agents as well. You enter this information for the server, his IP address for the web restore agent, and here for some info for the disk restore agent. I'm not going to build these, and I'll just tell you about them. Their purpose is if you want your users to be able to restore files from your website, then you will post the web restore agent on your website on a page that says restore your files here. Customer clicks there, it downloads and runs the small exe file and asks him for his username and password and encryption key. It then displays a screen that contains all of the files that he has available for restore. The restore screen looks exactly like the screen that he'll see in the agent software, the client agent software itself. It has all those features. As soon as the restore is completed, the web restore agent deletes itself from the disk. So this is safe to use anywhere. Your customer should be able to go into a web cafe any place in the world if he needs to restore a file from his account. Okay, the disk restore agent is used to restore from a USB drive. Suppose you have a customer who lost his whole computer and he needs a full restore. So you could copy all of his backups to a USB drive from your server. Just plug the USB drive into your server, copy all of his backup files to the USB drive, and then put a copy of this disk restore agent on the drive and then ship it to him overnight. He can then plug that drive in and run the restore agent and do his full restore. As the drives are put on the backup files that are on the drive are still fully encrypted and fully compressed. So, and they're to the point where there are no file names visible either. So it's completely compliant with all regulation and common carriers for you to be able to ship that drive. If it's intercepted, there's nothing anybody can do with it anyway. You also get the added benefit of the compression. We get anywhere from 70 to 50% compression. So that means that a 2 terabyte hard drive could actually store as much as 4 or 5 terabytes of data because it's going to be compressed while it's there. Okay, that's all I have to show you about the customization part. I've already built the installers. The next step is to install one of them and show you how that works. Then we'll do a backup and a restore, and then I'll answer some questions. First, let me have a look at some of the questions. Roger just wants to tell us thanks. He says, we've been so happy with this product. Mostly, we never have to get support for a server-side client program that is written so well. Thanks, Roger. That was very nice. There's some questions. can I retrieve the encryption key from a client software if the customer loses it? Ben wants to know that. Oh, Ben, yeah, no, you can't, but we can, and we're the only company who can. We have a built-in key escrow system in this software. It's very, very secure and really sophisticated. We are the only online backup software on this planet that can recover data after a user forgets his encryption key. The key escrow system is turned on by default. You can turn it off. If you turn it off, then nobody, not even us, can recover the encryption key. I'll tell you how this system works. If you leave the key escrow system on and your user forgets an encryption key and he needs his data back, your user's in a significant amount of trouble, and you could be too, as far as we're concerned. We have heard horror stories about end users who threatened to sue their service providers because they couldn't restore data after the customer forgot his own encryption key and after he'd been warned a number of times. At the very best, this results in really bad customer relations. The customer will be dissatisfied. I mean, after all, you have his data and you won't get it back. You won't give it back. That's what it looks like from his perspective. We do 2 or 3 key recoveries a month, I'll tell you, and out of about 1.5 million end users out there, it's not very many, but it's enough to keep to 2 or 3 or 4 users a month in business. The way it works is we send an affidavit out that you have to sign and your end user has to sign and send it back to us, and this promises to hold everybody harmless. It lets them know that we're going to see a piece of their data. It also lets them know that we may not be able to restore the encryption key. We can only restore about 90% of them. It's a difficult and involved process. We have to get your approval, your customer's approval, and somebody has to pay us $500 for us to start. We get a couple of files from your server computer, and those files are one of them is a key escrow file, and the other one is a public key file, and then we have to try to actually to brute force crack it with very little information. We can usually do it within a few hours, but if we can't do it, we can't do it. If we can do it, then you've got a happy customer who can stay in business. Kurt, end users cannot turn it off. You have to turn it off yourself. So you make the decision if your end user thinks that that's a violation of some privacy regulation. We don't think it is. When we've asked experts on HIPAA and SOX and GLB and everything, and they don't think it's a violation. Roger also suggests, he says that as part of his sign-up process, the customer has to sign an agreement that if they don't have a key, they don't get their data recovered. So that's one way to do it. All right, let's install one of these. Okay, so you see in the background running on this computer is the RBS manager. Let's install a client. Let's install a server. Here it is, right here, the one we've built. This may ask me a few questions that normally don't get asked. Okay, let me try to find this. I've got 3 computer screens here. I don't know which one's on. There it is. Okay, here goes the installation. I do not want to reboot this computer, and I sure hope I don't have to, Pinku. Okay, let's start it. Okay, this is the simple interface that I told you. This is the client software that you're looking at, and this is the simple interface. You can see it's really graphical. It's got very few buttons on it. They light up when you roll across them. I'm going to switch this to the advanced interface, show you what that looks like. Yep, that's right. This looks just like something out of Windows 95. But it's real easy to view. It's got everything right on the front of it. That's the advanced interface. Let's have a look at let me go back to the simple interface. Let's see, options, switch to simple interface. Okay, let's do a backup. First, let's test the connection to the server. And I'm going to move this over a little bit so you can see what's going on the server. Remember this, oops, sorry about that. Remember this screen that's moving now is the server screen. I'm going to switch to the monitor function so you can watch it, and I'll click test connection. Okay, that happened very quickly. What this client software did is it prepared a test file, it uploaded it to the server, it verified that it got there properly, then it downloaded it, and then it unpacked it and verified that it got back properly, all very, very quickly. I've prepared, I'm going to do a backup and a restore now. I've prepared a directory full of files. Here they are right here. What I'm going to do is back these files up, and you'll be able to see the backup happen. Backup now. This is called the demo backup set. Okay, here goes the backup. Okay, the first thing it does is scan files, select files for backup. It prepares and transfers the files all at once. You can see that what's going on in the background here. This is the server, this is the client side. This is about 50 files. It's compressing, encrypting, processing those files, removing the file names, transferring them to the server, verifying that they're there, verifying the digital signatures, making sure that the files are perfect when they get to the server. When you get all these check marks here, you are absolutely sure that those files are perfect, and you can close the backup. That was that quick. Okay, now just to put my money where my mouth is, I'm going to delete all these files from my local drive. And I really need these back for the next demo. So I'm really relying on this restore to work that I'm about to do. Here's how the restore interface is very simple and very powerful. With the restore interface, you can search for files to restore. You can search by file names or by folder name or by wildcard characters. You can search through hundreds of thousands of files very quickly. You can also you can search by backup set, and you can also search by date. So if you want to show you files that were backed up on a date or before a date or after a date or between two dates, it can do that too. The default search method is give me a full restore. So I want all the files I've ever backed up from all backup sets, the most recent version of everything. That's the default. So all I have to do here is click search, and it has found them. Here they are. That's this morning's backup of all of my important files. To get those, I just check mark it and pick Start Restore. It's warning me that it's going to send them to the original location and asking if I want to redirect the restore to another location. In this case, I don't, so I'm going to say no. And here it goes. It's doing the restore. It's verifying the files, decrypting, decompressing, put them all right back here where they came from. Yay. Now I don't have to rebuild them. That's it. That's the restore. Let's see. Please discuss. Okay, let me talk. I guess now I've done a backup and a restore. You can ask some questions. We've got 5 minutes left, but I can actually go another 20 minutes from now if you want to. Okay, Roger wants to know, please discuss Microsoft license for servers in a work group. I've had no access to files even though I've installed it at the server to any files on the shared drive. Okay, that's an unusual thing, Roger, and I see that Pinku has asked you. He's told you that you can contact him and he'll answer that one for you. Let's see. Well, Pinku's answered just about everything. Let me scroll back. Okay, Dave. Dave wants to know if bare metal restore is supported, or does the operating system need to be installed first? And if it's supported, what settings are needed? Let me just launch into my sermon about bare metal restore. Dave, we're going to give you bare metal restore, and we're going to give it to you very soon. There are going to be 3 versions of bare metal backup and restore at different prices. They're not going to be included as a regular standard part of the software because they are so expensive for us to produce and so expensive for us to support. So we have to charge individually for them. The prices will probably start for the least capable version of bare metal backup and restore, probably start around, I don't know, $60 or so per installation, and go up to maybe $600 or so per installation, depending on the version that you have. The difference will be they will all be able to do backups, bare metal backups and restores very quickly to local devices. So you'll be able to back up to a USB drive. Just leave it at your customer's site and schedule a backup to a USB drive daily or weekly or whenever you want to do it. The backup will be put on the drive in a mountable form. It'll either be a Hyper-V format or VMware format, so you can directly mount it and search for files to restore if you want, or you can restore it back to even to dissimilar hardware. The next version up will have even more features. It'll have the ability to do an online backup and an online restore, which I'm going to tell you, you may or may not want to provide to your end users. For one thing, online backups and online restores take a really long time. If you've got a 500 gigabyte hard drive, 500 gigabytes of stuff on the hard drive, even with compression turned on, that might end up as 350 gigabytes. Well, you know that's going to take a very long time to transmit to your server, and that's 350 gigabytes that you're going to expect your user to pay for. Let's assume that you charge 90 cents per gigabyte. I don't think an end user is going to pay $320 or whatever that would be per month to store a single drive image on your server. That's just really, really expensive. And he might want 3 versions of it stored up there. That's more of a business decision on your part than a technical decision. I invite you to look at my blog. It's blog.remote-backup.com. There is an article on there that discusses the pros and cons of bare metal backup and restore in the context of online backup services. And you can feel free to join in the conversation. Several people have posted comments. The third and most expensive version of our bare metal backup and restore system will compete with things like Acronis, their server edition that sells for $1,000. This one will allow you to virtualize your customer's hard drive in your cloud if you want to do it. So here's an example. This will back up Windows servers, including incremental mode for Active Directory and Exchange and everything on it. It will keep a perfect copy of his hard drive up in your cloud, and you'll have to provide resources for that. In literally 3 minutes time, if your user's hard drive goes down, you can mount his backup image in your cloud and give him RDP access to it. That's just an amazing technology that we hope people use, but we don't know how you're going to charge for it. This we have to work out. Let me look at some other questions here. Amin wants to know if clients can access their files online through a browser or on their smartphone. Not on a smartphone, but yes, through a browser for sure. They can access them through our web restore utility. Steve's beaming back to the mothership. See you, Steve. Thanks for attending. Speaking of beaming back, in our pre-webinar survey, 13 of you logged in as aliens from another world. 43 said that you use online backup on your home planet. 6 of you preferred Gridslings over Leverix. We don't know what that is, but I think it's interesting that most people prefer Leverix. And I hope those of you who attended via Subspace Ethernet got all of this session. We know you have connection problems through those long hyperspace tunnels. Let's answer some more questions here. Okay, what do we got? Could I use RBS to back up a client's shadow protect backup images? And if so, is there a recommended use bit backup or just full? Hey, Sean, regarding shadow protect, as most of you know, shadow protect is a well-known and well-liked image backup utility. Yes, you can send those images off-site using our backup, but again, it's going to take a long time. They're big images. Our backup should not be used in bit backup mode to handle that image. It takes way too long to process it. And further, hold it, I got to scroll back to read the rest of that question. Well, believe me, I had a further to that. Oh, it's going to try to compress and encrypt it. In its current form, our backup cannot send files out that are uncompressed and unencrypted. It will in a future edition, because we have to add that to be able to support online backups of images. But as now, I would not use it I would not use it to send shadow protect volumes right now. Let's see. Mark's using a correcting subspace modem, so he's on the cutting edge. Further future webinars, there'll be a webinar soon that covers it. Yeah, I would like to produce a webinar that covers in depth the e-commerce side of the system. I'm sorry I didn't get to any of the web plugins today or best practices today, but we'll have a future webinar, and I'll send out a notice. You'll all get it. Let's see. Before I end the webinar, I'd like to let you all know that Dave Branch is our sales and customer support guy here. He's new. He can help you with whatever issues you have. If you want to buy something or upgrade your software, call Dave. He's on 901-405-1234. He'll be able to help you with just about anything, and he runs specials from time to time. And those, let's see, of you 7, 3, 10. It's about 15 people in here that are using somebody else's software besides our backup. You know, step on up, guys. Let's get real. Call Dave, ask him why we're better, and ask him to give you some special deal.
Hey, Rob, before we end, I would like to take one good question from Scott.
Yeah.
He asked, does upgrading the client will change the encryption key? No, upgrading the software, be it client or server, is not going to affect your custom settings. It's not going to change your key. So I say this because there's going to be a new release probably the next week. So
Okay, good. Let's just quickly have a look at some others. Other questions. If we haven't answered your question in this webinar, we will get to it by email. All of your questions have been logged, and we'll answer you by email. Oh, and if you think of anything else you want to ask us, give us an email. Email to Dave, and Dave will get it to the correct person. His email is dave@remote-backup.com. Dave@remote-backup.com. Just ask him, and Dave will get you all the questions, all the answers, and get you to the right people. Tom wants us to post all the questions and answers somewhere so we can review them. That's a pretty good idea. Pinku, can you do that?
Oh, sure, I will.
That's a great idea. Okay. I suppose you know how to get to these questions. I know they're available, but I don't actually know how to get to them. Maybe I should.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a list of it. So.
Oh, you do have a list? Okay, that's great.
Yep.
Okay, everybody. I think I'll do this again maybe in a week or two. So send Dave your requests for specifics. I think most people want to see the web plugins next. So I think I'll show you that next. Okay, again, I'm Rob Cosgrove. Thank you for attending the webinar, and let us know what you thought about it, and let us know what we can do for you. We're very interested to help you be successful in your business. Please let us know what your issues and complaints are. Let us know about your especially if we're doing a great job. We'd sure like to know that too. And see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.